Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Katy Huff with Setting Yourself Free podcast, where we want you to do, be, and have all that God created you to be. And I am so excited to share with you. 'Tis this season. Therefore, I have my little Christmas sweater on. I'm ready for this month and really excited to be able to share with you what are some of the biggest challenges in this month. And I have the most amazing physician, Dr. Spurl. We call him Dr. Troy. And we were just talking about this, and I want him to share with you how we can not gain weight and have stress and all the things that happen during the next 30 days. And I want you to know where you're going to be able to hear this, because we want you to follow Katy Huff Ministries on Facebook, Apple, Spotify, Twitter, YouTube, you name it, we're on it. And you'll be able to hear from Dr. Troy, who is going to speak truth and life with you in the next 30 minutes, because obviously this is the time where people are running really fast. So I am just so grateful and thankful that Dr. Troy is here, and he's going to share with you some of the things that we can do to, just set ourselves free by being healthy through the month of December and starting off that brand new year again. So thank you, Dr. Troy, for being here.
Thanks for having me. Love this.
Yes, all about setting ourselves free. So here we were discussing prior to turning on the camera is that the weight, the fun times, the stress times, even though tis the season to be jolly, we don't want to be like Saint Nick and gain the weight that Saint Nick has, right?
That's right.
So how would you like to, you had that statistic that was, I think you'd love to share, and would be a great way to, just springboard off of this subject matter.
Yeah, so the first thing that I want people to really hear and know is that there's an interesting statistic out there that 80% of the population gain their weight that they never lose during this season. From the end of Halloween to Christmas is when the majority of people gain weight for the first time that they never lose. 5 pounds, 10 pounds, and it doesn't matter if it's in your 30s, 40s, 50s, or afterwards. So this season becomes one of the main focuses for how to just maintain a healthy diet and lifestyle through the season. And so there's a lot of reasons for that. Obviously, there's just even if you don't celebrate Halloween, there's still candy everywhere. So impulse buys do happen and occur. People tend to bring stuff into work. If you're working in a building or facility, I've actually had patients bring in like I'm going to call them unhealthy chocolate snacks or something like that. Not, there are healthy chocolates, but it's stuff that I wouldn't give to my patient, and their intent is right, and it's nice, but it's not a gift. So I throw it in the garbage, and my staff sees me throw it in the garbage and basically say, this was nice, I received the intent of it, but it is not going in my team's bodies. And so I even had an office manager when I first hired them who thought it would be nice to get donuts for the team. I threw them right in the garbage. And so that's not going to happen on my watch. So the thing is, the season itself can be very stressful.
Right.
And what do we crave when we have stress?
Food.
Salt and sugar.
Yep.
Yes. And I always ask this. I do a mindset class with our team here, but I'm going to see how well where you land with some of your guesses here. But when it comes to sugar, what's the number one sugar, or the sugar of choice, that women tend to crave? Take a wild guess.
Well, I would say chocolate.
Nailed it. I've never had a woman get that wrong. Not yet. And asking that question for 20 years. So chocolate's number one. So let me just say it this way. If you crave chocolate during this season, it's a sign that there's a little bit too much stress going on. And that's just super common. So it can happen through the entirety of the year, but we're going to talk about how to manage and de-stress from this season, some of the tricks we've given some of our patients. Now, here's a tricky one, though. So everyone gets the chocolate for women one, but what's the number one sugar of choice for men when they're under stress? It's not chocolate.
No, I'm trying to think.
It's very tricky.
I was going to say, I would think it'd be carbohydrates of some sort, or maybe potato chips or something like that.
Well, that's the salt. That's the number one salt.
Right.
Yes, that's true as well. It's actually beer, alcohol.
I was going to say
Number
wine.
Yes, yeah, right. So it's alcohol for guys. So if guys are craving alcohol, it's a sign of stress. If they don't drink, it's carbs like donuts
Oh,
or
yeah.
bread.
Yeah.
So that's a sign. So the first thing is just have awareness of, am I craving these things more? Now, sometimes you have to be conscious. If it's just out, if people are bringing things out, and there used to be a time when, like when my grandma would bake pies and they would sit out in the kitchen. You walk in, you smell a pie. It's like, oh my gosh. And it was just, I'm just going to tell you, it was different back then. In the
Yes.
50s and the 60s, the ingredients were different. We didn't have all this sugar. In 1904, sorry, the average American consumed less than 5 pounds of sugar a year.
Wow.
Fast forward to 2010, the average American consumed 160 pounds of sugar.
That's crazy.
That's right. So a pie back in the 50s did not carry the same load it does right now. It's called glycemic load. So
Right.
people are exposed to sugar so much more. So we still have, like, my grandma's not with us anymore, but I guarantee you she'd be baking pies and desserts right now.
Right.
But also people would have gone a month without anything sugary because they didn't have all this extra pop. Or I don't know if you remember the old Coke bottles that were
Oh, yeah.
back. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I remember my grandma, when she would get those, uh, a big 6 ounce Coke like that in a glass bottle was split between 4 people.
Right.
So that was what you got back in the day. So now that's blown out the window. So we definitively know we actually consume a lot more sugar, which again makes us more inflamed and actually causes more stress.
Right. Right.
So that's a big, big part of it.
You gotta love it when you go through the drive-throughs and they're like, would you like to supersize that? Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Yes.
Now we're taking a 32 ounce versus a 6 ounce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. More for less. Yeah.
And
So
yeah, more for less in the bottle, but not more for less on the body.
exactly. It's an inverse relationship. Exactly right. It ends up costing us more down
Yeah.
the road because you're paying for a whole bunch of things with your healthcare afterwards that you wouldn't have had been paying. So there's a delay here that happens when it comes to having to take care of yourself. So that's why it requires a conscious mindset to not reach for the snacks. It also requires a conscious mindset to realize, when I do get that extra size up, it might be cheaper in the moment, but it's going to cost you with increased weight, which costs you with increased everything. And if you pay insurance, that's going to go up because now they will look at these factors like your blood pressure, your body mass index, your weight,
Mhm.
and obesity is something that is dictating whether health outcomes for a good 70-80% of the different disorders out there.
You know what's really interesting is just the diabolic situation where you say it's comfort food, and it's
Yeah,
anything but comfort food, because
yeah.
it might be comfort going in, but an hour later you're sleeping, or you're exhausted, and a week later, if you're like most of us women, we get on the scale and it's not comfort at that point when you get on
No,
the scale.
that's that's exactly right. So what do you do during this season? Because again, this is the season. So let's talk a little bit about what can cause some of the stressors. So we know we live in a really fast-paced society right now, and that plays a lot into it.
Yes.
So my 2 cents is you have to reframe a little bit about what is causing stress in this season. Now,
Mhm.
certain things, like I have patients who have lost loved ones, and
Right.
then to be able to go through Thanksgiving and Christmas
Mhm.
alone for the first time, or I mean, that's grief. That's hard, right?
That's very difficult.
Yeah. So that one is when we just have to just lean in to the Lord, and truthfully, that's when I'm with my patients. That's when I just ask if I can lay my hand on them, just pray for them, and then just sometimes they're just feel so weak and so grieved that they don't even have a hard time just reaching out to God. And so that's why we're meant to step in and
Right.
be that conduit and just be there for them, and just lay hands on them and know that God is with them and that their sorrow is felt, and God's rejoicing with their loved one right now. And so that those things are part of it.
Yeah, so it's not just about the body, it's the mind and the spirit, like
Yes.
we talked, is
Yeah.
that the holistic approach that you all do that is amazing. And that's a huge part of it. I mean, you can't, it's a three-legged stool and you cannot leave one of the legs out.
That's exactly right. Yeah, exactly right.
Mm.
So the other stressors, though, we want to control. You know that serenity prayer about
Yes.
controlling what you can. Yes. So
Yeah.
we
Have it
want
all
to.
over the house.
Good. Well, that's what's really needed right now, but we have to pay attention and apply it.
Exactly.
Because if you're creating your own chaos, and I'm going to give you an example. I have a very, very lovely uh, stepfather, and his family is just massive. He's just got a big, big father. He married my mother-in-law in his 80s. Both their spouses have passed and stuff, and so he's an amazing man. He's a pastor in Ohio, but he goes through, and I can't remember how many he has. He has like 86 grandkids and great grandkids and all, like just a lot. And he gets them. He buys presents for all of them,
Wow.
and he goes shopping. And so he creates this stress. He's got a great system, but he creates this stress as far as shopping. So my wife tries to help him out, and his wife does, and things like that. But he's creating it himself. So there are ways where you have to look at and say, okay, does everyone need a gift? They
Right.
may or may not. Number one. Number two, this is a trick that my wife and I have done for years. We have what we joke is we call it our market. So we have a market in our basement, and it's shelves where we keep food. And at the same time, every time we find something that is on sale, like discounted clearance, that looks like a good gift for one of the grandkids or one of the kids or for someone else, we get it. So throughout the year, we're constantly buying things. And then when it comes down to Christmas, we go to our basement and say, oh, this looks good. This is perfect. So basically 60-70% of our shopping is done.
That's
But
awesome.
so and it's done so slowly over time, and it just kind of happens and comes up. And so my wife is very gifted at shopping. I'm not sure that's a spiritual gift, but if it was, she's got it.
Well, we thank God that she does.
Yes, that's right.
And I'm taking notes, and so I want all of you to be taking notes because this is really good stuff. And it's starts with, starting not in November or December,
Yeah.
start in January after Christmas sales and get stocked
Yes.
up, like you said, with your market.
Yep, and we do that for a lot of different things. So they'll have, like after Christmas, they have a lot of stuff that goes on sale 80% off because it's done for the season. So you get that. We plan our Christmas theme stuff for the next year based on what's been discounted.
Yeah.
So
December 26th.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And so, and we have, like I say, I've got a full clinic here. We've got over 14,000 patients, but my wife and I have 10 kids and 16 grandkids. We have number 17 on the way. So it requires a level of organization for it to not be stressful.
For
And
sure.
so we had to get to a certain level of organization, number one. Number two, we got really good with surrendering. And we told some of our grandkids that are in their 20s that they're not going to be getting what they got. Like there's a cutoff date. And unless they come visit us, if they visit us for Christmas, then we spoil them. So
Awesome.
we make it about the experience. So again, this season, if you're stressed out about shopping, stressed out about all these things, try and prepare ahead of time, number one, and try and make things about experiences.
Yeah, that's great.
Because ultimately that's what people remember, are experiences.
Yeah, the toy or the shirt or whatever is going to be gone. But when
Yeah.
we're gone, again, what will they remember is the experience that they had at Grandma and Grandpa's house
Yep.
and with their cousins and things like that. Awesome.
Yep. We just had our 8-year-old granddaughter came over, and she wanted to go shopping with her nana. That's my wife. And like I said, she's got a gift. And she said, no, we've got a bunch of work to do around the house. We've got company coming and everything. And she said, you're going to help me today, but I will pay you if you help. So you're going to get $10. And she spent a whole day cleaning and getting up on bunk beds and making stuff and everything. And so she earned it. And she will tell you when you ask her about everything. She didn't just talk about what she bought with that $10. And the funny thing is, as an 8-year-old, you're teaching them too, because as an 8-year-old, she kept going to the store and she'd look at the price of something. She goes, "Oh, it's $9.95. Banana, what's the tax?" She kept asking about the tax. And then I said, don't worry, we'll cover the tax part.
That's great.
But when she's relaying the story, she talked about how hard she worked. She talked about all the stuff she did with Nana.
Yes.
And a year from now, she's not going to be talking about the toy she bought. She's
Right.
going to be talking about how her and Nana got everything ready for the company.
Yeah, and she surely won't remember the tax, so that's a good
thing. That's right. That's right. So preparing for the season is very, very important, and then surrendering what you can't control. And sometimes I'll give you another example. Because we have so many in our family, we had one of our kids was due with a baby, and right around Thanksgiving. So we didn't know how many people were going to be coming to our house for Thanksgiving. In the past, that might have caused some stress for us. And so we literally planned between 2 and 12. And the day before Thanksgiving, it looked like it was only going to be 2 people.
Oh, wow.
We ended up with 17.
Oh my God.
But it was one of those things where it didn't matter. We made food for 6. We had food for 6, a healthy 6, and then just a couple extra things. And what ended up happening was people didn't have places to go, and then boyfriends of and girlfriends of our kids popped by as they went to 3 other places, and so we ended up having leftover food. We only made food for 6, and
Wow.
yet there was plenty for everyone. It was almost like the feeding when Jesus fed the multitudes. It was like, how is there still leftover food here?
The bread. Well, how did we end up with so much?
Yeah, you got a Jesus basket of bread and fish. It's unbelievable.
Exactly. That's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
God is good at all times, and he shows up, and he's in the details.
Yes, that's absolutely right. But that required a surrendering.
Yes.
And we were just going to enjoy the experience.
Right.
It required a conversation, a conscious decision, and a conscious conversation between my wife and I to say that we're good with whatever God brings this day. Whoever can come can come. And then at the end of the day, when you end up seeing that, she wasn't worried about if there wasn't enough food. We'd figure it out, whatever happened. And so just remember the reason for the season, and
Absolutely.
and keep your eyes on that. Now, other stressors that people tend to get into, um, again, just do your best to kind of control what you can. And I'm going to just talk a little bit about the importance during the season of getting sleep.
Amen.
If you don't sleep during a stressful season, that makes everything a little bit worse.
Right.
So you have to prioritize your rest and your sleep. So some people will socialize and have coffee and snacks, or even some people will have alcohol, and different things will come into play that will disrupt their sleep potentially, or late nights just visiting when you normally go to bed a little sooner, whatever it is. Just make sure that you don't have that happen too many nights in a row, and prioritize your sleep. And I always tell people this is the best time of year to start a walking program.
Amen. Yes.
10,000 steps a day. Get them in. I don't care if you have to walk 10,000 steps around your island in your kitchen.
Exactly. Get it done.
Get it done. Yes.
It really isn't that hard once you start it. And when you don't do it and you're in a routine, you miss it.
Yes, exactly right. Yep. And so now's the time to do that, because a lot of people, it's so weird how we think we reward ourselves. My life is so busy, I'm going to do this for me. And then 2 weeks later, you have to do something to recover for what you just did for you.
Yes.
And so a lot of the stuff that we think are things for us, I'm just going to relax and have a piece of cake. I'm just going to relax and have a glass of wine, whatever it is. doesn't necessarily, you have to look at whether or not that serves you truly. Whereas a nap or some prayer time or some exercise, different things like that can just so much more of a pouring into you than anything else. And so it's important to just put that little extra focus, and it doesn't take much to
Yeah.
just maintain a good, healthy um, body during the season.
Well, and what I'm thinking also is what an incredible gathering of the family and doing it as a family, that exercises together, stays together, lives together,
Yeah.
has a longer life. And so it's putting that in the mix of even when the family comes over, let's go take a walk around the neighborhood and look at the lights.
Yep. Yep. Great idea. Yep. We didn't do it this year, but in the past we've had family football games where we've all gone out and um, played football, touch football, stuff like that. But yeah, stuff like that's been fun. Different. We played basketball this year. It was cold, but we played. And so, yeah, different things like that are very, very important as far as just being physically active and kind of setting a bar for just movement and stuff, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. I always tell people a body in motion is always in motion.
Yes, that's right. So
So,
let's talk about family recipes for Thanksgiving and Christmas.
all right, let's do it.
So what you prepare matters. So I'm just going to say that there are healthy versions of Thanksgiving and Christmas meals. Where we go wrong tends to be with desserts, number one. So that's important. You have to um, also create some good proteins and vegetables. So I'm going to share with you one of my favorite salads that just decreases the sweet tooth for a lot of people. They don't need dessert when they have these salads. And I have family members that brag about how they just won't eat anything green or salad, but they'll eat my salad.
Nice.
So, so with this particular salad, it's lettuce and we add fruit on there. So organic blueberries, organic blackberries, raspberries, whatever we have. And we get towards the end of the season here, but we still can get them pretty well. Then we add sunflower seeds and sliced almonds on that as well. We get that from our organic co-op. On occasion, we'll also do banana chips. Now, those are the most high glycemic things in there, but the hard organic banana chips go in there for a nice little crunch. And then you drizzle organic local maple syrup on
Ooh,
just a little bit, little drizzle. So there's no other salad dressing. And you just drizzle that on there. And people who don't like salad will eat that up. And the enzymes that are in the maple syrup actually don't cause a spike in your blood sugar. So you're getting all this fiber, all this antioxidants
yeah.
from the lettuce and the nutrients from the nuts and the seeds. It's so good, and it helps calm the stomach. When
Mm,
you combine that with a little bit of protein, and which turkey is, and we so like this year we did turkey with strip sirloin. So we had just little cuts of beef and little cuts of turkey, and we did green beans with more of the almonds and stuff. And so we make sure we have a couple different vegetables, including salad. Sweet potatoes are a great option, and we just cut those up. And we will. The worst thing we do is mashed potatoes.
mashed potatoes and gravy.
Yep.
Yeah,
But
gravy with the mashed potatoes, Dr. Troy.
yes, and I always tell people you should after eating, and then it's all portion size. You just gotta watch how much you eat after that. But if you feel like doing something 2 hours after eating a meal like that because it gave you energy, that's a great sign you're coming into the season in good shape and that you didn't overdo it.
Nice.
That's why if you kind of plan something 2 hours later, people will tend to just watch themselves more instead of using that as an excuse to
Hmm.
just go hog wild.
Right.
And
Right.
just know that it's possible. There's any recipe you have that you just know is not a healthy recipe, certain casseroles and certain desserts and stuff like that, go ahead and look for a healthier, natural alternative, basically.
That's awesome. You know, and the other thing, obviously, and you spoke a little bit to it, is portion control. And
Yes.
you know, a lot of times we're like, it's Thanksgiving or it's Christmas, and they just, go for the gusto. And I don't know what your experience is or what you recommend, but I'm a nurse as well, and I taught aerobics, and physical fitness is I tell you that my coping skills is I pray first and then I exercise second. So that's
Yes.
how I handle stress. And I talk about the portion control of being like the size of your palm.
Yep.
That you would use it as basically a scale, as how much is enough or not too much, for instance. Do you have another scale that you use, or what would you?
No, that's what we do too. That I originally learned that from Body for Life. It was a book back in the
Yes.
90s. Yeah.
Yep, we
So
have it.
basically, a piece of protein is the size of your hand, the inside of your hand. Carb is basically the size of your fist, so you don't want to go more than that. And then veggies are unlimited. So
Right.
that's the general rule of thumb. And so like carb would be like a potato, or even if you have pasta, something like that, no more than the size of the fist of your hand. And so that's a general rule of thumb. There is research out there that shows if you just buy smaller plates, so instead of a big round plate like that, you buy a smaller plate and use that as your nightly dinner plate or lunch plate, that people lose weight just from that.
That's
It's
awesome.
that's the mental side of, well, I'm not going to put too much on the plate because I can't get it on there. So buying a smaller plate. And then once you're done eating, one of the other tricks is to actually chew excessively and be conscious when you're chewing. So what I want you to do is actually, when you put a bite in your mouth, I want you to try and pull into your brain all the different spices and flavors
Mm,
of that bite. I
mm.
want you to get good at it, because then as you start to sense things, if you can't sense it, you have to slow down and keep chewing until you start to sense the flavors. Here's what actually happens. Here's one of the problems. The more inflammatory food that you eat, it causes inflammation. Inflammation is more like hell than heaven. I'm just going to say it that way.
There you go.
And yes, and so inflammation wreaks havoc in our body.
Right.
More inflammation you have, it actually starts to burn a little bit the taste buds, which are your receptors
Mm.
that measure from the tongue, that measure the different flavors. So the more intestinal inflammation you have, the more you lose the ability to taste and smell.
Wow. That's
And
awesome.
so, yeah, so I want you to really slow down, focus on what am I experiencing here with this food. And that way, what it does is it brings joy from the small amounts of food you're actually getting. And if you don't have that, realize that you've just entered almost a position of gluttony where you're just shoving stuff in and you're not even tasting it.
Right.
And we live in such a day and such an era right now that we can get just the most beautiful organic food, and like fresh herbs and fresh veggies and fresh food. And when you combine these flavors, they're beautifully arrogant for our nose and our palate. But we don't necessarily sense that because of all the fake artificial foods that have gone there that are blocking that.
Right.
So
Well, then you
slow the
have a
process
sense of
down.
satisfaction. And so you're
Yes.
wanting more because you're satisfied, because you feel like you've really, and which you have, um, tasted and seen the
Yeah.
goodness of the food.
Yes. Exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Wow. That's so simple, but yet
Yes.
no one ever talks about that.
No, exactly. We tend to live in an age where we're too smart for our own good. There's so much technology, so much other stuff, and getting back to the restorative foundations of how God created us and just slowing things down is really what's needed. So, and I'm going to say the fastest way to start to get those taste buds back is go on a fast.
Mm,
You start fasting, you start cleansing, and then all of a sudden you'll really start to feel the difference. The more extended fast, the better. So sometimes, like once I got to a point where I had kind of lost that, so I decided I had to do a 10-day fast because something I was consuming, it ended up being an allergy I later identified, but it was a food I was consuming that blocked my ability to taste. So I'd do a 10-day fast.
10
To
days.
break, yeah, to break the 10-day fast, I had to do watermelon juice, just a little bit because that was one of the things. But it was so sweet, I couldn't even handle it. So I had to do it in just small, tiny amounts and dilute it with a little bit of water to break the fast. And an interesting thing happened is during the summertime, and on my way to the clinic, I have to pass by McDonald's, pass by it all the time. Well, I could smell it was so powerful, the smell coming from McDonald's. I had driven by there with my window down many times during summer, never smelt what I smelt like that, but it actually almost made me throw up. I got nauseous and was gagging from the smell of what I was smelling coming out of McDonald's there.
Wow.
So, and I hadn't experienced that. And again, once I started eating again, that went away. So that level of being able to interpret the smells from McDonald's went away. But
Yeah, but
the
you're putting it in
cleaner
your
you
body.
are, yeah,
Well, it's interesting because just listening to you, I'm going, I'm visual, I'm a very visual person. So I'm going, all this not so healthy food and things that we put into our body, it's almost like this layering effect on our taste buds where, like you said, they get so non-functional,
yeah,
for example, because there's so much of a coating on them that when you do go on the fast and you take that layers of coating off of the taste buds, then you're going to be satisfied and satiated. And so therefore you're not going to eat as much because you're happy with what you've got versus I need more. Is that fair
right.
to say?
Absolutely. Yep, exactly right.
Wow. So simple again.
Yes.
And so do you have like a specific fast that you recommend when they're doing fasting? Is it like totally just water or?
I just do water. Yeah. And I have people start with intermittent fasting where they only eat in a small 8-hour window every day from whatever that window is.
Mhm.
And then they can try a full 24-hour fast, water fast only. And then if they get a little bit better with that, they can go to 3-day fast, water fast. And my son just finished a 21-day fast. Again, this is his second one. He's all of a sudden gotten into fasting because he's seeking the Lord like mightily right now and stuff. And so he's doing a lot. And you're not meant to fast. So I want people to hear this. So fasting, there's got to be an intention behind the fasting,
Right.
and there's a spiritual component to it. So if you're doing it to seek God, that's one thing. I also believe in fasting for health, and sometimes it works really well, and sometimes it doesn't. So sometimes I've had to break a fast because it wasn't right. And so you will detox. You will go through what they call a Herxing reaction, where you have flu-like symptoms for some people, and
Mhm.
sometimes you just have clarity and energy that's been missing for years. And so you have to kind of just play with it and mix it up. You want to keep your body guessing.
Oh, cool.
So
Yeah.
yeah, during Jesus' day, they would sometimes walk from one town to another, take a week, take 2 weeks. And so they didn't always know how much food they're going to have, and they would go from feast to famine quite often, where all of a sudden they would be hosted at a house and they would get actual meat, and then they'd be walking for a week where they ate on a piece of bread for that week.
Yeah. The show The Chosen is very descriptive of obviously
Yes.
they walked everywhere. They didn't
Yeah.
get in a car.
No. No.
So
Exactly.
they got their 10,000 steps in.
Exactly. Yes.
It's like,
I don't think those step counters would work with Jesus. He walked on water, so I don't think it would count the steps like ours.
exactly. Might have to have waterproof one.
Yes, that's right.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, we complicate life, don't we?
Yep.
And we
Yep.
think we're simplifying it because we're going to McDonald's or a fast food place. Because
Yep.
it's simple and it's fast and it's easy. But when you look at our body being a temple,
Yeah.
and we should take care of it as a temple.
Yep. We now have 50 years of data that shows that it's not working. That we do complicate our lives.
And then there's that, right?
Yes.
Here's your sign.
Yep.
And therefore there's all these diseases and
Yeah.
which And obviously, I would say dis-ease is what the state of mind is you're in, is when you are not healthy, is you might be stressed, but then you have dis-ease, and so you get sick.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. Cool. Great. Anything, you know why I have to bring up the one? Let's talk about a couple things like alcohol and then water consumption.
Yes. That's really good. They go together actually. So, or they should go together. So water, again, one of the funny things is, especially the further north you get, during this season, it gets cold.
Yeah.
So when people get cold, they don't want to drink water as much. We don't sweat as much, so we don't detox as much. You
Right.
have to be very diligent with your water, and it's important to get your body temperature up early in the morning. So even if you're doing like a 5-minute exercise routine or program or stairs, walking, whatever it is, try and get to the point of sweating at least once a day and really refuel your body. So I have to have a cup on my desk here. It's an obnoxious large blue cup
Mine's
that
up.
yep, exactly. That
My lemons too.
yes, that's good. And I look at it all the time just to make sure that it's full of water and that I drink it down and everything. So you have to consciously do it because we lose a little bit the, the signal to our brain to drink water because of being cold. So especially if like back in the day again, 1,000, 2,000 years ago, you had to move to get warm. Well, nowadays, if you're at a desk or we at least have the comfort of our own home and things like that, we could easily just cuddle up to a blanket and or something and be like done for the day, and we don't move much. So getting water in is very, very important. We have to stay hydrated. Hydrate helps the immune system, helps fight everything off. Alcohol, there are definitely pros and cons to it. As far as there's definitely benefit from mild to moderate amounts of alcohol from a healthcare perspective. Jesus's first miracle as far as what he did as far as celebrating, and so there's a lot of celebrations that can occur. Now, of course, over consuming is problematic on many different levels.
Right.
So it's one of those things where it's really just paying attention. I have a general rule of thumb here when it comes to alcohol. So scripture tells us not to cause another man to stumble. So that's very easy if we know something about people.
Right.
And so we want to definitely take that in consideration. For yourself, if you consume alcohol and the next day you feel more mentally or physically sluggish, it means that even the small amount that you just had is in excess.
Okay.
So as we get older, that tends to be more true because our liver and our kidneys don't detoxify it as well. Every glass of alcohol dehydrates you 2 glasses of water.
Oh, wow. That's a good statistic.
Yeah, so it's important to know that if you have like you have a glass of wine, you've got to bookend that with 2 glasses of water, and that doesn't count towards your daily total of water.
Wow, that's interesting because I mean, when I've had a glass of wine, I always have a glass of water, but only one.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna have to up it to 2.
Yes, I like 2.
Sounds
Because
good.
you're covering your bases with that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, and I think so. I also think joy and laughter is good medicine. I believe in humor. I love celebrations and gatherings, and so I want people to just enjoy the season, be with family, remember the reason for the season, but also just take care of your body.
Amen. Yay God, and yay education, and these are really simple, and I'm just so grateful and thankful that we can help support, educate, and encourage people that this doesn't have to be the 30 days of 30 pounds between December 1st and December 31st, and that there's so many ways to just enjoy it so much more without being in your comfort food that is not so comfortable after 30 days of consuming. So thank you very much. Oh, great stuff. So thank you. Anything else you want to say before?
No, I just want people to enjoy the season. God bless, and I look forward to hearing all the success stories.
Amen. And so this is what I'm going to ask you all to do. Go to YouTube, click subscribe, and then watch the show there. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Rumble. We're on everything. This is such great information to share with your family and do it together, because you'll be more successful when you do it together versus trying to do it alone in the group of family that's not doing it. But tis the season, and it is the reason for the season. So thank you, Dr. Troy Spurl. You are such a wealth of knowledge and such an incredible, giving, encouraging physician that wants people to just live at their ultimate. And that's what we're here for also, is to have you have all that God has for you. And you need to, health has to be the number one after Jesus.
Yes.
I say God first, then health. So God bless you and thank you. And I really appreciate all of you tuning in, and we'll talk again with Dr. Spurl another time. Have a great, happy Thanksgiving is gone. So Merry Christmas, 'tis the season. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Katy Huff with Katy Huff Ministries, and this is Bella Jean, and we're coming to you today to talk to you about setting yourself free by having first a great night's sleep. How's that going to happen? By using My Pillow. My Pillow has incredible products. Bella Jean even has her own dog bed and loves it. She sleeps well at night, so do we. Because we also have the topper, we have the pillows, we've used the sheets, we have the towels, and we even have the slippers. So we are a family that loves My Pillow as much as my Bella Jean, and I'm hoping that your dog will love it as much as ours, and that you'll go to mypillow.com/unmasked. Again, that's mypillow.com/unmasked, and you'll get incredible discounts for your family to be setting themselves free to having a great night's sleep and having an amazing holiday season with My Pillow products. Thank you. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Katy Huff with Katy Huff Ministries, and I'm coming to talk to you today about setting yourself free. And what that means is it begins with taking control of your finances. So I was unfortunately introduced to a number of different financial planners that really didn't put me before their profit. And I'm glad to say that Kirk Elliott, PhD, their philosophy is people over profits. They don't rush you. They have a holistic approach. They took my SEP, they invested it into gold and silver, which obviously is diversifying. It may be for you, it may not, but I will tell you this, KirkElliottPhD.com/unmasked, they will go beyond making you comfortable and knowing where your money's going. And so I would just say, take control of your finances. Go to KirkElliottPhD/unmasked for a discount and great advice and peace of mind that you'll have.